Human soldiers arrive in an abandoned building as orders are being directed to them through the radio. Momo picks the lock, her superior urging her to hurry. She apologizes and picks the lock successfully, while the rest of the team rushes inside. They proceed cautiously with orders to lure the vampires out of hiding. Suddenly, a figure from above came crashing down, a vampire. However, this vampire is distraught, asking them why they can't leave them alone just before turning into a monster. The soldiers open fire, but despite being shot, the vampire lunges at one of the soldiers and consumes his neck before taking out the rest of the squad. Momo pushes her friend Mirena out of the way as the vampire starts to fly away, but soldiers flash it in a green strobe light, weakening it before finally killing the beast. Their superior tells them to search the area and then turns to the bitten soldier to finish him off because he starts to turn. Momo and Mirena search one of the rooms, but thinking that it's clear, Mirena proceeds ahead. That's when Momo noticed that there was a hidden room where a vampire child was crying. This child offers Momo her music box, but Momo knocks it off her hand, saying others may hear it. That's when another vampire comes out of the shadows and lunges at Momo, but thankfully Mirena comes back and kills it. Distraught at what happened in front of her, the child vampire injects a syringe into herself, which causes her to transform. Despite being stabbed by the transformed vampire's claws, Momo hesitates to kill her until her superior comes and kills it. He's angry at Momo for refusing to kill the vampire, especially when they have little chance to take it down once the drug is in full effect. With the building clear, he tells them to head back just as the music box stops playing. Next, the scene shows how humanity tried to fight off vampires who suddenly appeared and plagued humans for many years. With the vampires much stronger, they managed to take over most of the land, forcing humans, led by Central Forces, to live in a small city surrounded by a wall of light called the City of Light. Because the humans feared they would attract vampires with their keen senses, they decided to ban music and other cultures as they tried to keep things low-key. Back in the city, Momo and Mirena are busy sifting through the junk goods when Mirena gives Momo the music box from before. Mirena tells her to fix it so they can listen to the music together, when suddenly one of their superiors calls out to Momo and tells her that the commander-in-chief wants to see her. As Momo walks into the room, the commander, a woman named Nobara, Momo's mother, tells her that she's being reassigned to the chief executive office. Momo's not happy and tells her that she's fine with where she's assigned, but Nobara tells her the only reason she was assigned a job like that is because a cadet getting an admin role quickly would raise eyebrows. Nobara also tells her how she heard that Momo hesitated to kill a vampire child, and Momo tries to explain that it was just a child. Nobara gets angry, informing her daughter that she just put her comrades in danger and stressing how the city is on the brink of destruction. With human life getting shorter because of a lack of resources, they need to kill all the vampires, or else they will be killed first. Meanwhile, at the vampire's kingdom, the vampires are having a ball with Finu dancing right in the middle of the ballroom with a vampire girl. Some other vampires are annoyed by her carefree attitude, especially since she's the vampire queen. But Fina continues to have fun before dropping her dance partner off as she tells them she'll get some fresh air. In a wooden cabin, Fina tries to relax when Allegro, one of her colleagues, emerges from the shadow and tells her about how the humans, or worms as they call them, are planning a mass invasion. Fina remains nonchalant, playing the violin as Allegro tries his best to convince her to join Allegro's counter-invasion. While doing so, he flips through one of her books, where a faded photograph falls. Before he could take a good look at it, Fino snatched it away from his hand, and their conversation got cut short when the vampire from before called out to Fina. Before he leaves, Allegro leaves vials of blood for Fina to drink, telling her that he just wants her to be herself. At the City of Light, Momo manages to fix the music box and lets Mirena hear it before she sleeps. The next day, the Central Forces discussed their plans to launch an invasion led by Nobara, because they found a vampire lair in the northern mountains. She also shows them the drug the vampires use to inject into themselves that boosts their abilities. She says the vampires are getting desperate to end them, which is why they should push to take down their lair. After the meeting, the deputy commander approaches Nobara and says he heard about her promoting her daughter and that she graduated with flying colors. Nobara tells him that there's no need for flattery and informs him that she knows about the new weapon he's developing. Nobara says she appreciates his effort, but he should just follow her lead because this is her job. After work, Momo hangs out with Mirena and tells her that she managed to fix the music box. She said she'd bring it tomorrow so that they could listen to it together, not knowing that the vampires were starting to gather at the outskirts of the City of Light. Fina decides to join Allegro and tells him that she's just looking for a place to die, even though it boosts the morale of the other vampires. Meanwhile, the humans start to roll out and head to the vampire lair later that night. Back in their home, Momo continued to hum the song, which made Nobara angry. She slaps her daughter and reprimands her while Momo cries, trying to protect the music box from being destroyed. Nobara tries to butter up to Momo, but Momo grabs the music box and runs away. On the other hand, the humans fall for the trap the vampires laid for them just as Allegro commences their attack on the City of Light. Outside, Momo calls Mirena and says she wants to leave the city, but Mirena tells her that they have no other place to go and that they should just stay together. Suddenly, the vampires make it to the wall and use grenades to destroy the strobe lights while Nobara takes command of the humans' defense. The vampires continue their attack, but Allegro grows worried seeing Finu struggle. The vampire queen flies off into the forest while Nobara informs the soldiers to head there as well. Upon landing, Finu overhears a couple of humans ganging up on a vampire. She tries to save her but ultimately fails, and as a last-ditch effort, one of the soldiers drops a grenade. Finu manages to throw it away, but she's still hurt by the explosion, and as she is about to use the drug, she hears the music box and Momo singing. The vampire queen pleads for Momo to sing it again, but Mirena appears on the other side of the lake and shoots Finu. Momo runs over to the other side just as both humans and vampires appear and start to fight. Momo finds Mirena standing in front of a hurt vampire who injected himself with the drug. The vampire transforms and lunges straight at Mirena, while Finu tries to save her. Unfortunately, the monster inflicted a grave injury on Mirena, causing her to die, but not before she apologized to Momo for not being able to keep her promise. Distraught, Momo starts shooting at the monster, but Finu tries to stop her, saying she won't be able to kill the vampire. They fly away, and the monster follows them, but Fina crashes within the humans' territory because of her weakened state. Nobara appears and uses the strobe light on the monster, and that's when she notices that Momo is there too. The soldiers tell her that Momo may get caught in the crossfire. But Nobara says their priority is to kill the vampire, so she orders them to shoot. The vampire queen approaches Momo and tells her to come with her because she overheard Momo talking about wanting to leave this place. Momo hesitated and eventually decided to take Fina's hand just as the lights went out in the city. One of the human traitors cuts the power off just as Allegro signals the other vampire to attack the tower. Fina urges Momo to get in the car while she drives away from the city, only to be followed by the monster. Momo sees Nobara ordering her men to shoot, which leaves her heartbroken while the monster continues to chase them. Suddenly, the monster gets hit by a missile, and on its dying breath, Kubo beheads it. As Finu drove farther away, the city regained its power, forcing Allegro and the other vampires to retreat. The next morning, Nobara calls Kubo, who turns out to be her little brother, and orders him to find Momo. She sends a couple of soldiers to help him in his search as well, then explains that the deputy commander is hot on her heels and would use Momo to find dirt on her. After hanging up, Kubo asks the team how they would proceed, and one of them says it would be impossible to keep tracking Momo on wheels. Kubo decided that they should just go to the neighboring town and ask for help. As for Momo, Fina takes her to her villa, where she prepares food and urges Momo to eat. The latter refuses, claiming that Fina just wants to fatten her up before eating her. But rather than answer that, the vampire queen wonders why Momo was singing. This caught Momo off guard and made her mutter that it was her mum, but Fina didn't care as the vampire queen proceeded to walk straight to the piano to play a tune. She asks if Momo recognizes the song, while Fina says that it was the same song Momo was singing. After playing, she forces Momo to dance with her, but the latter only pushes her away. Now irritated, Fina reminds Momo that she was the one who wanted to come with her, but the latter is upset, crying as she tells the vampire queen about what they did to Mirena. Fina gets up and leaves, but not before giving the music box to Momo and saying she can leave and go wherever she wants. With no place to go, Momo heads back to her room and cries. Back in the vampire kingdom, Allegro meets with the elders, and they tell him that he should do everything he can to bring Fina back, because her bloodline is needed for their kind to continue. Moreover, they tell him that it's his last chance to redeem himself for his failed plan. Later that night, Momo wakes up and starts to explore the villa. She enters one of the rooms and sees a projector playing something when suddenly, she notices a girl running from the corner of the room. Scared at what's happening, Momo starts to run and feels as if someone's chasing her before she falls into a body of water. When she wakes up, she realizes that she's in a bathtub, while Finu tells her that she had a hard time cleaning the carpet Momo puked on. Momo apologizes while the vampire queen plays a record and explains that the singer is a human, just like Momo. Fina also says that the singer sings about the people she lost and how singing eases the pain of being left behind. Again, Finu asks why Momo is singing, but before she can answer, the former hands Momo the cover of the vinyl and leaves her be. Back at Kubo, his group reaches the nearest town, where the local vampires tell him about Finu. They tell him that Finu is probably in a villa high up in the mountains, which he appreciates. As thanks, Kubo's men give the vampires blood, much to the annoyance of one of the soldiers. The soldier couldn't understand why Kubo was giving them blood, and the latter says that it's much better to just give them blood to not only appeal to the vampires' needs, but also for them to cooperate, rather than bite them right then and there. The next morning, Momo wanders around the villa and finds Finu tending the plants in the greenhouse. She's surprised to see the vampire queen gardening, but since Finu feels weak, she tells Momo that she should continue her work instead. While gardening, Momo discovers that Finu lives alone, so the former suggests that she should find her friends. Fina answers that she's better off alone because no one could get hurt around her. After a moment of silence, Momo thanks Finu for trying to save Mirena and says that she wants to try to sing, asking for Fina's help to do so. Finu agrees, so she plays the piano for Momo while the latter starts to sing while holding a vinyl cover. Unknown to them, Kubo and his group get closer to the villa, as do Allegro and the other vampires. Kubo warns the soldiers not to use any of their weapons, but they refuse, with their superior ordering them to get ready as soon as they reach the villa. While singing, Momo gets teary-eyed when suddenly an arrow shoots through the window and pierces through Fina's neck. Kubo's group enters the room and rescues Momo, but Momo doesn't remember her uncle and tries to get away from him. Out of the blue, vampires crashed through the window, and Kubo's team was quick to deal with them. During the commotion, Momo manages to escape from Kubo just as Finu regenerates and grabs Kubo. The rest of his men try to capture Momo again, while Kubo stays behind to fight Fina. While running through the hallways, Momo is captured by Allegro. He asks where Fina is, but the more he looks at Momo, the angrier he gets, which is why he decides to kill her. Thankfully, Kubo's men got to Momo in time and handed her a gun to protect herself. Outside, Allegro's men and the other soldiers with new tech are busy fighting. Kubo and Fina talk, with the vampire queen saying she won't give Momo up, but Kubo says it's not for her to decide, then proceeds to throw a grenade at her. Back to Momo, she gets chased by the vampires and decides to ditch the gun to hang onto the chandelier instead. Finally, Allegro finds Fina, informing her that she should go back since the elders want to speak with her, but the vampire queen refuses. The other vampires were busy trying to get Momo when one of the soldiers in armored tech fired at the chandelier. Before she could crash, Finu managed to save Momo, and they ran outside where the vampire queen told her to go to the shed. She gives the music box to Momo before running off to fight Kubo when suddenly Momo hits Kubo with a car. Momo tells Fina to get on, with Kubo hanging on at the back of the car. That's when Momo realizes that the road is blocked, so the vampire queen tells her to just drive through the cliff, knowing that there's a road there. Momo hesitates, but eventually does as she is told, emerging unscathed and outrunning their pursuers. While driving, Momo asks Fina if people are pursuing her, and the latter affirms. But Fina refuses to go back since those people want to rob her of her freedom. After driving for quite some time, they stop and look at the smoke coming from Fina's burning villa from a distance. With no home to return to and nowhere to go, Momo asks if Fina wants to go to this paradise where humans and vampires live. The vampire queen says such a place doesn't exist, but Momo knows the former believes in it because why else would she keep the picture in the first place? Suddenly, Fina is reminded of Arya, which is why she ultimately agrees. Finu and Momo drop by a local supply store before hitting the road. With a brand new set of clothes, the two sit comfortably inside the car. Momo asks if the vampire queen is okay not drinking blood, but Fina says she's fine as long as she has alcohol. Fina then tells Momo to grab the tape in one of the bags, but before she can pop it in the cassette, they hear about Nobara getting grilled in the news because of Momo's involvement with a vampire. Finu pops the tape in the cassette and urges Momo to sing along. The latter reason is that she doesn't know the lyrics, but Fina says she should just sing whatever Momo did. From there, the two went on a fun adventure, admiring old abandoned towns, visiting bathhouses, and enjoying each other's company, not knowing that Kubo and his men were still hot in their tracks. Fina and Momo continue to head up north to look for paradise, and when night falls, they get out of the car for a small cookout. Fina cooks a stew for Momo, which the latter compliments, saying how delicious it is. But the vampire queen already knows it, so she is proud of her cooking skills. After dinner, Momo gazes at the moon, commenting about how beautiful it is, while Fina agrees that she's only looking at Momo and not the moon. Suddenly, Fina's face contorted in agony as her eyes glowed red for a moment. Back at Central, the higher-ups are holding a meeting with the deputy commander, pointing out that Nobara's daughter not only aligned herself with a vampire, but also ran away with it. Furthermore, he presents photos of Momo's clothes at the villa, as well as pictures of her with Finu, then tells the rest of the committee members how he wants Nobara to take full responsibility for Momo's acts. Momo and Fina continue their journey until they reach a checkpoint manned by humans and vampires with guns. Before she stops, the vampire queen urges Momo to keep her head low while the men ask why they want to pass. Fina then explains to the man that she just wants to repair the car, and the human at the back is her blood bag. The man snatches Fina's eyeglasses before telling her that she needs to pay a $5,000 fee as well as a bottle of blood per person. The vampire queen did as he requested and handed 2 bottles to the vampire waiting on the passenger window. Before they drive off, the man tells Finu that Momo is not allowed to step on their island, and that as soon as she's done draining her, she should dump Momo on the humans' island. The further they drove into the island, the more Momo noticed that humans and vampires don't live happily in the area. Finu explains that humans manage the island on the right, while vampires control the one on the left, and that they're separated by the canal. Furthermore, they make a living by bartering. Humans supply blood, while vampires supply money, and it's for that sole reason that they live right next to each other. After driving a little more, Fina stopped the car and checks at a local hotel for the night. Before they went inside, she warned Momo not to leave the room for any reason, to which the latter agreed. As soon as they enter, they are greeted by a chorus of signing vampire ladies on the couch, while Fina heads to an abandoned front desk. She rings the bell and asks if there's anyone there before a grumpy and chubby vampire begrudgingly appears. Upon seeing Fina, his attitude instantly changed as he greeted her cheerfully. Once he sees Momo, he panics and tells her that Warm can't be here since they're short on blood and it may start a fight, but Fina bribes him with 4 bottles of blood. He reluctantly agrees, and then Fina and Momo head upstairs to their room. As they settled in, Momo mentioned how the vampires downstairs were singing beautiful songs, and that's when Fina said they needed to do that to survive in a place like this. Fina sits by the piano and asks Momo if she wants to play, and when the latter agrees, the vampire queen starts to teach her. Allegro is also hot on their trail, killing to his heart's content. Then there's Kubo and the rest, who are currently on break. Kaid asks him why Momo went with a vampire, and Kubo explains that his niece is just misled into thinking there's a paradise out there where humans and vampires can live together. After playing the piano, Fina and Momo laugh on the bed, where the vampire queen promises to make her the best pianist. Leaning on Momo, she almost caved into her blood cravings, but she managed to curb them and laugh it off. Later that night, Fina dreams about Arya, contorting in pain as she drops the wine glass in her hand. The sound woke Momo up, and as she got up to ask if Fina was okay, the latter told her to get away. Suddenly, Finu lunges at Momo as she loses control of herself because she craves blood. But before she can bite Momo, she holds herself back. Momo tries to help and uses the knife to cut her wrist, trying to feed Fina with her blood. But the vampire queen tells her that she no longer drinks that. In a desperate attempt, Fina throws Momo out of the room and tells her to go back to her mother. Momo heads outside and sees that there's a military mark on one of the buildings on the humans' island, and it makes her think that there must be a blood bank there. A group of vampire thugs surrounds her, one of whom even says that he noticed that she came from inside the hotel. Before they can do anything, Momo runs away from them and heads to the human facility. As soon as she steps foot, a spotlight shines on her as she explains that her friend needs blood. But the military facility orders her to turn back, firing a warning shot and saying that the next one will be a sure hit. Momo ignores their warning, sneaks into the facility and manages to secure a couple of bottles of blood before the alarm sounds. She heads straight to the rooftop, where they chase and shoot her before throwing a grenade that causes an explosion. While all of that was happening, the vampires on the other island forced their way into the hotel, thinking there were other worms inside even though the owner told them there were none. From afar, Allegro sees the flames while Momo tries to outrun her pursuers by jumping from one building to the next. Allegro comes flying in, but Momo continues to run. As soon as she jumps, Allegro swoops in with his fangs bared. Back at the hotel, the vampires thrash the hotel, upset that there wasn't any blood or worms. In a desperate attempt, the hotel owner tells them that there's a vampire with a worm on the 3rd floor. Upon hearing that, they knocked him back against the candles, which caught the curtains on fire. Upstairs, Fina crawls on all fours and tries to get the music box before collapsing again. As for Allegro, he checks the bag Momo is carrying and sees that it's full of blood bottles. He grabs a pointed metal rod and points it right at her neck as he asks where Fina is. Momo refused to tell him, which made him press the rod harder into her neck, causing it to bleed. He goes on to tell her how there was once a person like Momo who used Fina and manipulated her feelings. In the end, he tells her that the worm betrayed Fina and left the vampire queen in despair for how long. While looking at Momo, he feels angry as he asks her if she really believes she could live together with Fina before asking again where Fina is. Momo still refuses to tell him, which makes him even angrier. But Momo says she and Fina made a promise, which is why she'll never tell him where the vampire queen is. Momo kicks Allegro, she grabs the blood bag, and they fall together. At the hotel, the vampire thugs grab the women while the hotel owner can only look on. The vampires reach Fina's room, and one asks if he could trade the music box for blood, but decides against it. He throws it into the fire as he and the other vampire walk out of the burning room. Momo dusts herself off and sees a couple of the blood bottles are still intact, so she hurries back to the hotel. Fina is still weak and mistakes Momo for Arya, just as Momo carries her away from the burning room. With the hotel burning and vampires celebrating, Momo puts Fina at the back of the car and tries to start the vehicle, but the hotel owner grabs her. He pushes Momo into the ground, choking her and blaming the two of them for what happened. In the end, he told them there was no place where the two of them could live happily together as Momo drove away. She finds an abandoned cabin in the woods and starts transfusing blood to Fina. When the vampire queen wakes up, she removes the contraption as Momo starts crying and asking why Fina gave up so easily. Momo tells her that she already knew there was no place for her and continues to cry while Fina hugs her and apologizes. Later on, they continue their journey on a boat, braving the harsh winter cold. Sometimes they row, and other times Momo pulls the boat through the snow with Fina in tow. One day, Momo finally collapsed, and when she woke up, she saw a girl with white hair and the picture from the music box hanging as a large painting in the cabin she was in. Momo asks where they are, and the girl says this must be the paradise that the two of them were looking for. Momo stares cautiously at the girl, who introduces herself as Alicia, who then assures Momo that she won't suck her blood. Momo asks where Fina is, but the young vampire says she'll take her where her friend is before handing her a bowl of food. While eating, Alicia explains that Momo and Fina got lucky because they managed to find them by chance and just in the nick of time. Right after, Alicia gives Momo a tour of the village, and the latter is surprised that they have electricity there. Alicia explains that it's because of that they have no shortage of food and everyone lives in harmony. True to what she said, there's livestock and food for everyone, and everybody seems to be busy doing something for the village. After seeing it for herself, Momo starts to loosen up a bit, and that's when Alicia takes her to an old frozen submarine that serves as their housing. The old submarine also has people donating blood, but Fina can be heard from afar, trying to break into a sealed compartment and fighting off a man bigger than her. Momo runs to hug Fina, telling her that they finally found the paradise they were looking for, until the compartment opens up and a delirious vampire grabs Momo, saying that he can't do this anymore and to take care of her friend. The man Fina was fighting pushes the vampire back to the sealed compartment, and Alicia explains that they captured that vampire, who was suffering from a blood disease. After that, Momo and Fina were left alone, with the vampire queen expressing how she finds the place unsettling. She wonders what the submarine is and finds the vampire suspicious, aside from the fact that he seems to be held against his will. Momo, on the other hand, tells her that she's just overthinking things. Kubo and his men just reached the vampire island before and interrogated the vampire hotel owner. The latter just hands them the photo from the burned music box, and he doesn't have any idea of the place. Kubo takes it, and that's when one of the soldiers says that the place is called Volskaya, a village in the permafrost region. Kubo asks why he knows, and the soldier says he's seen pictures of it during his research and explains that a submarine washed up in the area and contaminated the whole place, including the villages. Just then, one of Kubo's men calls out to him, saying that he has a call from Central. Unknown to them, Allegro has been listening to their conversation all this time and has caught up to them as well. Back in paradise, Alicia prepares a sauna for Momo and Fina. While Momo is enjoying it, Fina hands her his trusted weapon, saying how she wants Momo to use it to protect herself in case anything happens. The vampire queen also exerts caution as she asks Momo if this is really the paradise they've been looking for, but Momo tells her instead that she should just hold on to it. Seeing her reaction, Finu decides to go for a cold plunge and leaves Momo in the sauna. After their bath, everybody in town gathered, and Alicia explained how humans and vampires from the outside were unable to cease their fighting. She's grateful that the music and arts they formed in the village managed to lead Momo and Finu to their village, where everybody finally welcomed them with a toast. Momo tells them that she's from Central and that she's willing to help out, while Fina simply states that she's thankful that everybody welcomed them. From there, dancing commenced all night, with Alicia asking Momo to dance. Before she could answer, Momo turned to Fina for permission, which the former granted her. Everybody is either dancing, singing, or playing an instrument, clearly having a good time, except Finu. The harder she stares at Momo, the more she sees Arya, which is why she decides to get some air. As the dance finally finished, Alicia told Momo that they were now officially friends and that they should stay like this forever, which Momo agreed to. Outside, Fina's condition worsens as she starts coughing up blood. Momo goes out for a breath of fresh air as well, where Fina joins her. Momo thanks her for bringing her to this place where people are so free and love music. Upon hearing her say freedom, Fina grabbed her hand and was about to say something when Elisha screamed for Momo to come back from a distance. Fina decides to stay behind for some fresh air, and as soon as Momo's out of sight, Allegro appears. He's surprised that she managed to travel that far and reminisces about the times that they used to look for places like this. Finu walks away from him until she collapses, at which point Allegro flies in to catch her, urging the vampire queen to come home. He tells her that she shouldn't confuse Momo with the worm from before, and even points out that she's perfectly fine without Fienu now. Remembering how she almost bit Momo back then, Fina grabs onto Allegro as he tells her that she should come home with him now. As for their pursuers, Nobara has finally joined Kubo and the others, but the latter thinks that his sister is only here to take care of her status. He points out how she could keep her status if Momo died, since the people from Central would finally get off her back. But Nobara says there's no use for traitors, and if you disobey, you have to own up to the consequences. Soon, their group rolls out into the frozen lake and searches for Volskaya. The next morning, Momo wakes up surrounded by everybody who's still asleep and immediately calls out to Fina. She heads back to her room and sees Fina's clothes from last night, along with her weapon and a note saying she should use the weapon when she needs it. Elisha appears a moment later, so Momo tells her that Fina has already left. Elisha tells her to stay put because they will be the ones to find Fina, and she warns her that it's dangerous out there because some parts of the lake are melting. She locked Momo inside her room and had the man from before stand guard outside her door, while the rest of the villagers headed out to find Fina. Speaking of Fina, Allegro settles her in a small cave and leaves her there, saying he'll be back with help soon. On the other hand, Kubo, Nobara, and the rest of the soldiers continue to look for the village, even though Nobara doesn't believe it's a paradise. She warns Kubo not to fall for the vampires again, reminding him what happened when his vampire wife turned on him. But Kubo assures her that he's not that naive anymore. Back at Momo, she looks for a way to get out of the room and notices the small hole where the animals creep in. She starts kicking at the edge of the hole and manages to squeeze herself out. As she escapes, the man guarding her notices her and starts running after Momo. She finally finds a sled and is about to board it when the man fires a warning shot near her. Unfazed, Momo continues trying to figure out the sled when the tank right next to it explodes because Elisha shoots it. Fortunately, Momo is unharmed, but because another sled appeared from her side, she decides to run to the submarine to hide while Elisha and her men follow her there. Inside, Momo tries to look for a hiding place when she hears a voice tell her to get inside the duct. She manages to avoid capture, while the voice urges her to come closer and release him. The voice belongs to none other than the vampire with blood disease from before, and he goes on to tell how the people have been pumping him full of blood. By doing so, they use his regenerative abilities to power up the place, and they use the picture from before to lure people into this paradise before using vampires like him. Momo thought of Fina, who was captured by Alicia's men at the same time. Just as the vampire is about to bite Momo, Elisha shoots him and proceeds to explain how they need to sacrifice a few vampires so everybody can leave in peace. She shoots Momo, who manages to evade her and throws a bottle that scars Elisha's left eye before running off. Alicia chases after Momo, raving about how they could still join and live with them, but Momo continues to run away. On the outside, Kubo and his men finally find the village and are approached by the elder and one of Alicia's men. Kubo asks if they have seen Momo, but the elder answers that they haven't seen anyone like that. Kubo doesn't fall for their obvious lie, and so the younger man calls for their vampire allies. A fight ensues among Kubo's men and the vampires from the village. The soldiers from Central also join in, firing at the flying vampires and shooting the submarine in the process. As for Kubo, he finally corners the elder and asks where Momo is, to which the latter says she escaped into the submarine. Inside, Momo and Alicia feel the submarine submerging as water starts to pour in. Alicia finally grabbed hold of Momo and taunted her, telling her to call out to Fina when Momo stabbed her with the Vampire Queen's blade. Momo gets up quickly and takes Alicia's gun, while Alicia chases after her, saying there's no place else she could go. Momo finds a torpedo and starts fumbling with it when Alicia suddenly appears behind her, forcing her to agree to be friends with her forever. That's when Momo finally released the torpedo's lock, pushing Alicia away from her. But the vampire grabbed hold of Momo's hand. Alicia laughs, saying Momo will stay in the village for the rest of her life. Momo shoots her, then pushes the torpedo off its placement, sinking Alicia into the bottom of the submarine and causing an explosion. Soon, the whole submarine is submerged underwater, and as she draws her last breath, Momo calls out to Fina in her mind. Meanwhile, Fina is tied and placed in a casket in a dark room, while Momo floats motionless inside the submarine. Fëanor dreams about the past, remembering how she and Arya didn't end up finding paradise and all the casualties that happened. In the end, she sees Momo about to get killed by a transformed vampire and calls out her name, only to wake up to find herself bound and placed in a casket. She hurriedly runs outside and flies off, seen by Kaidi and Kubo, before she dives straight into the submarine to save an already unconscious and sinking Momo. Fina also sees Alicia dead in her vampire form before she swims away and flies off at the opposite end of the submarine. As Momo regains consciousness, she thanks Fina for giving her the weapon because it came in handy, but Fina feels bad, thinking she shouldn't have left Momo in the first place. They hug it out until Allegro and an army of vampires come flying, just as Nobara and her troops from Central appear. Fina tells Momo to grab onto her as they fly off and try to escape both humans and vampires. Allegro tries to talk some sense into Fina, telling her not to be reckless, but the Vampire Queen ignores her and continues flying straight to the forest. From there, one of the other vampires orders them to capture the Vampire Queen and take her somewhere safe. Below, the soldiers shoot them, with Nobara getting irritated at how the soldiers from Central are doing as they please. They finally reach an abandoned town and finally lose both of their pursuers. Fina and Momo rest high up on an abandoned scaffold, where Momo begs her not to push herself too hard. The Vampire Queen gives Momo her cloak and assures her she's fine. They just need to put some distance between them and their pursuers and then find a place to regroup. Just when they're about to go, Kaida shoots Fina right in the chest, causing her to fall from the scaffold with Momo screaming for her. Kubo and his other men are already in position below, shooting Fina as soon as she falls. Momo decides to follow her down and tries to fight back against one of Kubo's men, even though Fina tells her not to. Fina helps her fight the man, but they use the green strobe light on her, further weakening Fina. Kaida fires 2 shots straight to Fina's chest while her comrade runs with Momo in tow. Mustering her strength, Fina flies off, grabs Momo from the man, and lands in one of the abandoned buildings. Fina decides to hide inside the building. Kaidi warns the others not to hit Momo and orders them to inform Kubo that they already have the 2 cornered inside the building. Inside, Fina does her best to barricade the room they're in, but they've already caught up to them just as quickly. She carries Momo and shoots her inside one of the openings in the wall, instructing her to follow the canal to get outside of the factory. Meanwhile, Fina tries to block off the wall opening with the column as she tells Momo that she'll just meet up with her later. But for now, she'll make sure to keep their pursuers preoccupied. Outside their door, Kaida and the rest prepare to detonate a bomb to enter the room, while Momo clings to Fina, saying she'll stay with her even if they die together. In reply, the Vampire Queen says they should make a promise that they'll create a paradise that only the 2 of them know about. That's when Momo finally noticed that Fina wasn't able to stop the bleeding from her injuries. Before she could do anything, Fina shoved Momo to the other side and blocked the opening just as the door exploded and Kubo's men appeared. Momo cries out to Fina from the other side, but the Vampire Queen is already facing Kubo's men, who are already firing at her. She takes the syringe out of her weapon and injects herself with the drug. Momo cries out to her as she hears Fina start to scream and transform like a monster. A while later, Momo finally finds the exit when Allegro suddenly appears, flying as he asks where Fina is. Momo grabs one of the pipes and fights back, explaining to him mid-fight that Fina used the drug. Angry at what he heard, Allegro starts attacking her more viciously when one of the soldiers donning mech armor appears, stomping on Allegro and grabbing Momo. Nobara appears from the other side, telling the soldier to release Momo, but he refuses. That's when Allegro manages to flip the armor over, only for him to get shot, while the soldier refuses to let Momo go. In a delirious state, he tells her that this is all for the advancement of science and humankind, when a metal pipe suddenly lands on his head and knocks him unconscious. Allegro returns, all bruised and bloodied, saying how he should have killed Momo right from the start. With the last of his strength, he pries the armor's grip away from Momo as he tells her to go and save Fina. Momo runs past the soldiers who try to grab her, even her mother, who says she can help her. Momo continues to run while Allegro apologizes to Fina. He reminisces, which shows how he's betrothed to the vampire queen and how he felt helpless, not being able to help Fina in times of despair before losing consciousness. Meanwhile, Fina has fully transformed and walks aimlessly. Katie and the rest are all wounded and bloodied. She informs Kubo to be careful and to take it from there. Fina is also badly injured, leaning on the wall for support when she finally sees Kubo appear, laughing and pleased to see her in her true form. A fight ensues, with Fina getting slashed and stabbed by Kubo. Just as he was about to deliver another blow, he got hit by a metal pipe that knocked him off Fina. Momo comes running and calls out to Fina and asking if she could recognize her. Kubo tells her to move away from Fina, saying how the monster no longer recognizes her. And no sooner than he does, Fina starts attacking Momo. She bites her on the waist and arm until Kubo stabs Fina again and impales her on the wall. Momo tries to hit her uncle, with Kubo saying how this was the natural outcome of a human-vampire relationship, but Momo won't budge, asking why they won't leave the two of them alone. He finally hits her and pins her to the ground as he tells her that she needs to let Fina go. He stresses that there's no paradise where the two of them can live together happily. Hearing that, Fina stirs and remembers how she and Arya were also pursued ages ago. Arya ends up dying as Finu thinks that paradise doesn't exist. Suddenly, Momo's voice rings loud as she tells Kubo not to lecture her on what is and isn't possible and how she doesn't expect any of them to understand them. She stabs Kubo in the thigh with a shard of glass as Momo starts to tackle him. In a desperate attempt to force her to return, he points a gun at Momo's head, ordering her to go back to Central, but Momo refuses. She says her choice is to live with Finu. And right on cue, the vampire queen appears and smacks Kubo to the ground. She grabs hold of his head in her claws, ready to crush him, while Kubo taunts him to do it just to prove that vampires like her are savage beasts. Fina's grip on him tightens until she suddenly releases him, just as Momo pulls the katana out of Fina's body. Kubo is shocked and fires at them, but Finu nudges Momo out of the way. Still reeling at what just happened, Kubo remembers her marriage to a vampire and how his wife turned at him. In the end, Nobara comes to his rescue and hands him a gun to finish off his wife, while telling him that it's time to go back to the city. Fina and Momo leave him there, and they go outside, where Momo sees several vampires still flying. She holds on to Fina as they bravely fly through the snow, with Fina still in her changed form. After a little while, Fina loses her strength, and they fall on top of a mountain with a cave. Fina enters it, and her form starts to melt just as she cries out while Momo follows her deeper into the cave. Finally, Momo sees Fina lying in the middle of a clearing surrounded by moon azaleas. As she knelt beside the vampire queen, Fina caressed her cheek, happy to see that she was safe. Momo gets teary-eyed, saying how they managed to get away from everyone when Finu suddenly started to cough blood. Momo tells her to take her blood, but Fina shakes her head. Instead, the vampire queen turns her attention to the moon azaleas and how it makes her feel nostalgic. Fina finally tells Momo of Arya, the person she once loved who didn't reject or resent her. Arya took care of Fina, and the vampire queen discovered the idea of a paradise where vampires and humans exist through her. At first, she refuses to believe it until Arya points out that it's exactly what they're doing right now. Arya was different from the others since she sang and danced, and she also taught Fino how to make music. But because what they had was considered taboo, people and vampires came after them, no matter where they went. In the end, Arya died, and Fina has never been the same. The vampire queen mourned her death and started living as if she were already dead too, until she met Momo. Fina admits that she's been selfish and treated Momo as Arya's replacement at first, especially since the two look and sound alike. But eventually, Fina discovered that Momo was also strong and fierce, even stronger than Fina. Plus, she had a knack for singing. Momo shakes her head, saying this is all because of Fina, and if she hadn't met her, then she'd still be rotting in Central until now. Fina asks Momo to sing for her, but the latter can't do it. The vampire queen pleads, telling Momo not to let her live in the dark anymore, as she tightens her grip on Momo's hand. With the last of her strength, Fina cries bloody tears as she pleads with Momo to let her live on in the latter's mind, as part of her happy memories before finally dying, as Momo cries out. Later on, Momo meets Nobara while carrying Fina's dead body. Nobara caresses her cheek and apologizes for making her go through all of this, but Momo cuts her off, saying it's just like Nobara said, that she was a girl who knew nothing of the world. Momo walks past her as she continues to say that her mother has always helped her in everything, yet she's too selfish to understand. Frustrated, Nobara asks if this desolate land is what Momo has been searching for, and when the latter refuses to stop walking, Nobara points her gun at her, refusing to let her walk away. Momo only turns to thank her mother for everything she did and says they should just lead their own lives from then on before walking away, even though Nobara still screams after her. Momo kneels under a large tree in a meadow filled with blooming moon azaleas. With a smile, she clasps her hands as if in prayer before bracing herself to sing. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.